Hi everybody, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Sabine at znumerostar.com, and today's video is about 5 sure signs someone is manifesting you. Although I've had this question only twice, I thought it was interesting enough to make a video about this. Last year I talked to a client of mine. She's a lovely person. Well, someone tried to manifest her, but she wasn't interested. She was wondering why it hadn't worked, so we will talk about that as well. I've decided to talk about this actually because most of you, when you call me, it is about a specific person. Well, wouldn't you feel great if you knew that someone was manifesting you? And why not your specific person even? Can it be so? Well, actually, yes, it can, and it is. So first, we'll see 5 signs that someone is manifesting you or trying to manifest you. Then we'll see why my lovely client wasn't interested, even though some guy was really trying to manifest her in his life. And by the way, when I say that someone is trying to manifest you, of course, you'll have understood that the person is actually one specific person, because any person is a specific person, right? Even though it might be someone different from your specific person. So, sign number 1 is if you think of someone from time to time randomly. Let me give you an example. Let's say that our friend Mary is talking to a friend of hers called Jane. Jane asks Mary if she's heard about John lately. Mary hasn't, and she feels sad about the situation because she is manifesting John back. Jen says, "Mary, don't worry, I'm sure John will come around. If not him, someone else who will know your value." I'm sure we can all relate to this type of random conversation, right? Well, at that moment, Mary had a passing thought about Gary, not knowing exactly why, but with the inner feeling or inner knowing that Gary would be a contender if John wasn't. She is even thinking right now, well, that's too bad that Gary is not as cute or as magnetic as John, because I'm sure it would be easy to be in a relationship with him. Sign number 2 is that you start questioning whether or not you are wife material for someone, or if you need to do something else to step up to being a wife, for instance. Let me give you an example. I hope our friend Mary is not sick of being in so many examples, but anyway. As Mary starts thinking about Gary from time to time and wonders why she is, since she's not remotely even interested in Gary, she starts also having thoughts about her being a wife. This would happen if Gary was manifesting he was marrying her, for instance. The way Mary would react to that thought is another story, but if Mary starts asking herself about it, and especially if she isn't manifesting marriage with John right now, this is a sign that someone else is manifesting a marriage with her. The thing is, if Mary feels insecure as a potential wife, because she feels that John is not looking at her in that respect, this could trigger some insecurities for her. I know it might sound weird to you, but I have actually discussed the situation with a few friends, and after explaining about all of this, they all said the same thing. Whenever they were randomly thinking about a guy, they were wondering if the guy they wanted would see them as wife material and would be triggered. This is not the same as being triggered as you think of your own specific person. This is slightly different. Can you see the difference? The good thing, however, about it is that it gives you the opportunity to work on your self-concept. Even before being with your own specific person, if you feel that you would need to get rid of your insecurities and all. Sign number 3 is that Mary randomly hears about Gary or sees Gary or goes to the same place as Gary as a coincidence. Well, it would look like a coincidence, of course, but we all know that it wouldn't be a coincidence. This would simply be the energy work that Gary has put intentionally into his manifesting of Mary. Sign number 4 is that Mary does something random for Gary with no previous intention on her part. She just happens to be thinking about Gary, and she decides herself to do something for him. So let's say that our wonderful Mary is on Facebook, and she notices that it is Gary's birthday today. She has never wished Gary a happy birthday because basically she doesn't care much about Gary. But for some odd reason, she cannot explain herself, today she thinks it would be a nice gesture to write a quick happy birthday on Gary's Facebook. All along, Mary genuinely believes that it is her idea, and she has no second thoughts about it. And she gets on with her day, not realizing that Gary is celebrating her message with a beer and a big smile on his face. Please note that in this instance, we can see that Gary is putting good energy into manifesting Mary. He has a good feeling when he thinks about Mary. Now let's see what happens if Gary puts negative energy in manifesting Mary. By negative energy, I mean doubting he can manifest Mary, feeling discouraged because there seems to be no movement from Mary, etc. So we will start sign number 5 by saying that Gary is putting a negative energy as he's trying to manifest Mary. And so what Mary does is that she feels annoyed as she thinks about Gary now. She might even have mood swings all of a sudden, and shortly after the mood swing happens, the image of Gary pops up into her mind. And now, as promised, I'm going to explain why my clients decided not to be in a relationship with the person who had been manifesting them. Let's call my client Jane and the guy who tried to manifest her Tim. Jane told me that she was unimpressed that Tim had tried to manifest her, and she wondered if manifestation was working because if it was working, she said, surely I would be with Tim right now. Well, no, it doesn't work like that for 2 reasons. The first reason is that it was Jane's reality we were talking about, and Jane makes her decisions in her own quantum bubble. She has free will in her reality, and so even if she gets manifested, she is the one calling the shots. However, if Tim had put a positive energy while manifesting harm, she might have been at least interested. In truth, she said that she didn't feel any chemistry and it wasn't her type. I had the exact same experience with a guy who tried for years. My lovely client also confessed that she felt kind of repulsed by that guy that we will call Tim. After a while anyway, they had a conversation and Tim confessed to her that he'd been trying to manifest her for a long time and that he'd given up on his desire. Now, what happened in our case for Jane and I, because I am in exactly the same position when I was a few years ago, is that our guy did put a negative energy and intense energy in their manifestation of us. Essentially, what it means is that as they were thinking about us, instead of having lovely thoughts and daydreaming about what we would be doing together, they were intensely thinking about us, trying to force their way to get to us, trying to show up when we were where we were, trying to get noticed, to the point of being negatively obsessed about us. I know, for instance, for the guy who was manifesting me, that after a while he felt bad about himself, questioning himself and wondering why I wasn't responding positively. He told me he has lost his confidence over this, so we talked for a while about the situation because I didn't want to be responsible for that. And for the little story, and I thought that was interesting enough for me to share it with you, he met a woman looking exactly like me. When I showed her picture to my best friend, she couldn't believe it. I haven't spoken to the guy for quite some time now, but I guess he's okay because he's found his specific person. But what I would like you to understand is that Tim is the exact same thing when you and I typically put intense negative energy into manifesting our own specific person. This is why it is so important and why I insist so much, especially if you are obsessive like myself, to nurture your thoughts and ensure that the quality of your thoughts and the way you feel about them is always on the positive side. Now, if you go and check my latest post on my website at numerostar.com, you'll see how you and your specific person have manifested actually each other in the first place. You will also see that it wasn't random. Finally, you will also understand why you haven't manifested them already, if you've been trying for a while, and what to do about it. As always, I do believe in you. I know you can do it. And on that note, happy manifesting.